everyone to check if you are on mute before we carry on. Thanks very much. Okay, so the Global Cash and Voucher Assistance and Nutrition Technical Working Group is part of the Global Nutrition Cluster Technical Alliance. Just as a quick refresh, the Technical Alliance aims to provide 3 key services to practitioners in all contexts, preparing for, responding to, or recovering from an emergency. So the first one is answers to questions. The second is in-depth technical support, be it either remote or in-country. And third is the development of stopgap guidance when it is needed. So for that third area, primarily, we have global thematic working groups. And this cash and voucher assistance working group falls within one of the 4 global thematic working groups that fit under the Alliance currently. In addition to the cash group, we have the wasting, an IYCFE, and a nutrition information systems group. So the global thematic working groups were created to respond to a need for experts to come together to answer questions that are coming up from our country level practitioners, and also to develop guidance where we are missing guidance. So this cash group in particular was one of the recommendations that came out of the evidence and guidance note for CVA, which was mentioned in the session already. The group was launched in April 2021, and it has 2 key objectives. The first is to create a collaborative platform to discuss the challenges and opportunities for CVA and nutrition. And the second is to coordinate evidence generation in relation to the identified gaps and promote cross-learning. So if you are interested to join one of the GTWGs or this particular GTWG, please visit the GNC Technical Alliance website. And we also have included the email of our co-chairs, which is Marina, who we've heard from this morning, and also Diane from Concern. Next slide, please. So the global GTWG for cash is connected to different initiatives and working groups on cash and nutrition at the region and at the country level. There is obviously a huge breadth of work happening globally in this technical area. So I just wanted to take a moment to bring out a couple of key examples. So at the global level, Save the Children is leading on capacity building and monitoring and evaluation tools to monitor the impact of CVA for nutrition. UCL and Concern are leading research on the use of cash transfers to reduce the risk factors for malnutrition. There's been a lot happening in the regional level, and particularly in West and Central Africa. There's been a very strong coordination mechanism that's been in place for some time around cash and nutrition, which is led by UNICEF, WFP, and IRC. And also UNICEF is implementing cash with partners, implementing cash and nutrition partners in CAR, Mali, and DRC. Looking to reduce the incidence of relapse. In East Southern Africa, UNICEF is leading an initiative on leveraging social protection systems to improve child diets. And in the LAC region, there's an active community of practice for multi-purpose cash grants, which are being used in the Venezuela response and in Guatemala. And also, just to mention in very briefly, some of the initiatives that are happening at the country level. Concern is very actively implementing CVA for nutrition in Somalia. Save the Children is looking at using cash for nutrition outcomes in humanitarian settings in Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, and Myanmar. And finally, UCL and Save the Children are leading a research project in Yemen, exploring the rate and risk factors of children who are admitted for SAM, who receive cash for 4 months post-discharge. Next slide, please. In my final moment, I'd like to highlight the major activities that are featuring on the GTWG work plan for this year and into 2022. So at the moment, there's an effort to map all of the initiatives on CVA for nutrition outcomes, which will be followed by a survey on the gaps and challenges in this technical area. I'd just like to note the work that this group will be doing following when I finish. Will also be feeding into the identification of challenges and gaps. Going into Q4, there's going to be priority topics for workshops to improve confidence in the sector to use cash and nutrition, and also what tools and guidance are needed. And then these particular tools and guidance will be developed towards the end of this year and into next year. So just before I hand on, I really do encourage you to have a look at the Alliance website. If you're interested to join, please express your interests, because I think that the strength of these groups really depend on the diversity of participation, and also making sure that we have our country and regional level colleagues represented fully. Okay, over to the next session.
Thank you, Megan. So with the next session, we really wanted to have a plenary discussion with you. And we have created a mirror board for this purpose that we have shared in advance, and hopefully some of you have already shared their thoughts. However, you have in the chat box now a link that leads you to the board and mirror. You can follow directly on your board. You can share your thoughts with us, choose really the modality that you prefer. This board really look at existing challenges and gaps, but also opportunities that you can explore. You can raise your hand. We really encourage you to come off mute and share your thoughts with us. If Nicolas, you can share, you can start to share the board.
Yes, I'm ready to share, but you need to stop sharing your screen first. Thank you. Let me share my screen. Please let me know if you can see it now. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so there are already people playing around with this.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I'm gonna explain you the rationale behind this board. In the guidance note, we have some highlights and background on how this thinking and the use of CVA has started initially. There were some reluctancy by the nutritionist in the use of CVA initially because of the poor evidence on the nutrition outcomes, but also because some nutritionists thought there were not enough tools and not enough guidance available to support them in these four areas. Area 1 is the need assessment and situation analysis. Area 2 is related to design. Area 3 is related to implementation, and Area 4 is on monitoring, evaluation, and evidence generation. So we hope that today, after 1 year of the publication of the evidence and guidance note and other tools that have circulated, some of these gaps and challenges have been removed, but we are still interested in seeing what type of support people need to work better. So I can take some of the responses that have been provided by the participants as examples. If we go to area 1, for instance, needs assessment and situation analysis, key messages are around capacities to conduct feasibility and risk analysis, but also availability of data related to nutritious needs and situation analysis. So as an opportunity in this area, some colleagues have really proposed to build the synergies with the information management system. And also other colleagues have spotted out the complexity in some cases of conducting market analysis and using this market lens in the nutrition situation analysis. Others have proposed, have identified joint analysis and coordination around joint analysis as a challenge, and have proposed to improve these aspects. Is there anyone that wants to share some thoughts on area 1 that I've just described? Feel free to come off mute.
Just to say, people who've just joined the Miro board, I'm accepting your request for access. So as they come in, so just be patient.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, if you have if you don't have access and you have inputs to provide with, I mean, you can also write in the chat box or raise your hand and give you the opportunity to share your thoughts.
Okay. So if there is no one that wants to come off mute, we can have a look and explore area 2, implementation. So there are some interesting inputs on challenges that come up when we come to the implementation of our projects. In some cases, we think that we don't know if what is the best duration of the project, what can work in humanitarian or in development setting. The 1,000 days, the minimum duration that we have to propose when we design a CVA for nutrition outcomes project, or what approach should we use in humanitarian projects that have a shorter duration. Other participants have spotted some challenges when targeting and identifying beneficiaries. Others have also highlighted the importance of having a good social and behavioral change strategy to be able to promote the use of CVA for nutrition outcomes. And I think in general, this integration with health and wash and other sectors, which is obviously expected, it's not always straightforward and can be also time consuming. Is there anyone that wants to share any thoughts around the implementation?
I think we have a hand raised from Hashim. Hashim, do you want to come off mute?
Yeah, thank you very much, and colleagues. And yeah, I just wanted, to to understand, how, cash voucher transfer is effective, in the nutrition programming, because I know there was a study conducted in Somalia, Pakistan, and Niger. I think it was called the Revani. So another outcome was, cash and voucher transfer did not consistently reduce, acute malnutrition in all the arms or in all the countries. That survey was conducted. So as we understand that, such the result of the surveys showed that, the acute nutrition does not reduce cash voucher does not reduce acute nutrition, and still, we are still, I think, and advocating for cash in nutrition cash voucher in nutrition programming. So do we need to think of other ways, as we know that cash doesn't reduce activity? Do we have other complementary maybe and aspects or complementary and things to reduce, maybe to think of, instead of just repeating the same thing that we already saw it? Thank you very much.
I can respond to that if you want, Marina. I was involved in the Rafani study, and just really briefly, Concern was one of the partners, as was ACF and University College London. In Niger, I think the design was very much just, can cash do it alone? And so we didn't see an impact in Niger. In Somalia, though, under the Rafani study, we did see an impact on acute malnutrition with the cash arm. But we also saw lots of other issues, and there was follow-on research called Cash for Improved Nutrition in Somalia, again done by Concern and UCL, and some of those results are promising, and particularly the focus in that second round of research was on improving vaccination rates, and there was an impact on cash improving child vaccination coverage. So I think we can't say categorically that it doesn't improve, it can't improve wasting. But I think cash is just one factor. And I think something we learned is that you have to consider the health factors as well. So I think we're all just still, we're not closing the book on it, I think is the general feeling. And as Marina pointed out, there are other studies that have shown some maybe mixed impact on nutritional, child nutrition. There's another hand up from Tamam Ahmed. And then we have, I think it's Jackie Fries. Hashim, would you mind taking your hand down? Tamam, do you want to come off the mic and speak?
Yes, okay, thank you very much. This is Tamam from the Save the Children Yemen. I'm an nutrition specialist. Okay, so I'd like to clear out some points here in Yemen. So the nutrition cluster here in Yemen now adapted recently, and we added now to the nutrition activities one activity which is linking SAM and MAM to the CVA or to the cash programming here in Yemen. And we are in the Save the Children. We are adopting a common approach called resourcing families for better nutrition, where we are linking 3 elements of this approach, which is CVA, cash transfer programs, plus nutrition activities, and SBCC, this social behavior chain communications and referral of children to the health facilities. So we are doing this with some projects, and it is. Yes, that's an added value for us to strengthen the nutrition outcomes when we combine the CVA to the nutrition, because we have many districts, they are IBC4 and IBC3 and very high GAM rates. So we take it as an added value to combine CVA and nutrition. And as I told you, that nutrition cluster now in Yemen is adding a new activity to the framework, which is linking cash to the SAM and MAM. Thanks.
Thanks, Tamam. Jackie Fries, did you want to come up?
Sure, thanks, Kate. I just wanted to add to the group that for this area too, for the design, we're so used to working with treating malnutrition and working with nutritionally vulnerable individuals, usually children or usually elderly people or women of reproductive age, who are not necessarily the people in the household who are making decisions or have access to cash or vouchers. So it's just a sort of plea to just think a little bit beyond our traditional nutritionally vulnerable groups in terms of treatment and see how many of the interventions, because of the causal pathways, are actually preventing malnutrition, and try to be a little bit more creative about the way we can say that the cash and vouchers are stopping these nutritionally vulnerable groups from becoming malnourished because they're having access to better diet or because they're having access to better wash practices or feeding practices. So just a plea to all of us to get a little bit away from treatment mentality might be helpful to see potential.
Definitely. I think I think your voice was maybe going up and down a little bit, Jackie, but hopefully everybody heard that it's sometimes, I think nutritionists, I think your point, Jackie, was that nutritionists maybe need to reconsider their mindset, which is very much focused on treating individual children, and think more broadly about the household, and how I think this guide by SAVE, resourcing families for improved nutrition, and what Tamam just mentioned, is really a broader integrated approach. So opening our minds as nutritionists, myself being guilty as well, is probably the first step.
Marina, Nicola speaking here. I mean, there is a few comments also in the chat box that you may want to address. So there is one from Caroline, I think, that speaks to what Jackie just said about inclusiveness and how can we consider the use of cash voucher assistance targeting, I mean, other vulnerable groups, including all the population, for instance, and how can we impact the nutrition status of these older persons with cash.
Yeah.
There is also other comments about the use of cash-based intervention for nutrition in nutrition and emergency response. Are there any, I guess, I mean, the question is about, are there any guidance or experience or need to explore how can we make best use of this modality in emergency settings? Also, I mean, question about in terms of challenges on the integration of cash voucher assistance for nutrition into existing fund from social protection. In all honesty, I'm not sure that I'm getting it rightly. So, Dang.
I understand the question.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so I can start by answering these three. So in terms of targeting of other groups than the classical pregnant and breastfeeding women and children under 2, I totally agree. I think that at the moment, there is no specific guidance on targeting one specific group. So there are suggestions on focus and also experience based on other projects that have targeted families with children under 2 and families with pregnant and breastfeeding women, because those groups are considered the most exposed to the risk of malnutrition for individual risk. But I agree. We are in Save the Children currently looking closely to targeting and definitely, especially in very vulnerable settings, you have not only elders, but also people living with disabilities and other type of vulnerabilities that should be taken in consideration to prevent malnutrition. So I think we should be very inclusive in our targeting approach. For the use of CVA for nutrition in emergency, yes, most of the evidence today speaks about outcomes in development setting, but there is growing evidence in the use of CVA in humanitarian and emergency. And the guidance note really look at this type of focus. So I suggest you to go through the guidance note to find some of the answer to how do we do when we work in humanitarian. However, there is really need to invest more in evidence generation for what cash can do in humanitarian setting. For the scale up of the use of humanitarian CVA and build social protection, there is growing evidence and growing experience. So in Save the Children, some of my colleagues are working on tools on how to support governments and how to support partners to scale up humanitarian programs and to build a more on social protection system. But my suggestion is also to really produce evidence, is really from the learning on the use of CVA from one humanitarian experience, so that you can start to generate evidence and start a dialogue with the different stakeholders, and then build work more on the social protection side.
Thank you very much.
Other questions?
Yeah, I mean, there was interesting comments in the chat box. There is one, I mean, that said about what about cash condition to specialized product to prevent stunting in young children, in bracket, in places where the minimal acceptable diet cannot be reached through fresh foods. So wonder if here it's making reference to kind of a retail strategy for nutrition.
Yeah. My suggestion is, I don't have personally an experience with this type of modality, but my suggestion is in every context, start with your feasibility and risk analysis to identify, according to the context, what is the best modality and what is the best delivery mechanism. We can't say, you know, conditional cash is better, is more effective. It really depends on the context. And in some contexts, the conditionality add a burden to families that are already quite overwhelmed with other type of vulnerabilities. So really, this risk and feasibility will guide you through the best choice in terms of modality.
And maybe there is another question about evidence on the, is there any evidence about the impact or the difference of impact between conditional and unconditional cash transfer on I mean, so practices, nutrition practices, or I mean, any nutritional outcome?
Yeah, so the evidence note show that according to the review of the evidence done, there is growing evidence on the positive impact of conditional cash, as I was explaining before, seen as an incentive to attend SPCC and other health preventive services. However, this evidence is not always consistent. So yes, conditionality can improve attendance, but there is still need to invest more in evidence generation to confirm this.
All right, just screening the chat box. I think we have almost covered all the questions.
Yeah, I think we are all also almost at time.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah, I just want to encourage the participants to continue to fill up the Miro board because it's very useful for us. I am very sorry that we have limited time and we can't go through all the inputs and thoughts. However, this has been great. I'm gonna leave the floor to Kate for the wrap up of the session.
Thanks, Marina. I think I can share my screen. It's just to reinforce that the main action point here today is just to use the Miro board. So hopefully, can you see that last slide? So these are kind of the action points as we saw them before we even started the session. Can you see that? Anyone confirm?
Yep, can see.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
Yes,
so the idea is for Diane and Marina and the Global Working Group to use this Miro board to inform the work plan. The work plan, as you saw, that Megan presented. For everybody who's interested to join the CVA Nutrition Global Group, or if you're interested in a regional group, just contact Diane and Marina. And there are their emails again, and I put them in the chat. And then stay in touch and watch for updates on that GNC webpage on the group. And then we have a quick evaluation, which Marina will copy the link to for this session. And there was a question in the chat, Marina, you probably know best, but beyond the GNC website, is there a place, a repository, a place where people can go for all of these documents that were presented today and any new ones that emerge? Where's the best place?
The evidence and guidance note and the briefing note are on the GNC website. For the other tools, you will find the links to the tools in the presentation that will be posted on the website. So that's probably the PowerPoint will be the best compilation of resources for the moment.
Yep, agreed. So this will be in PDF, and I will include the Miro, the Mentimeter, and then Mentimeter results in the PowerPoint. And then how long? Sorry, somebody's not on mute. Could you mute yourself? Thank you. Marina, how long will the Miro board be kept open? People could still add
we can keep it open for a few weeks until the end of July, even, to give the opportunity to people to share their thoughts.
Okay, great. So please continue, and I'll continue to. I get an email notification if anybody needs access to the Miro board, so I'll keep an eye on that. So please, to the end of July. Just say July or June? July, yeah, Marina?
July, yes.
Okay, yep, so you've got some good time to input there. On that, I think we can close unless anybody else has anything else to share or last questions. Is there anything in the chat, Nicola? And apologies to, sorry, there was a big group who were apparently on the wrong link previously.
No,
apologies for that.
Yeah, not much to add, just to say that there are some promising development in this area apparently, and especially from, you can see the post from Ellen Keller International, really looking forward to seeing the result of what they did in assessing the impact of food voucher to manage children with moderate wasting, and really promising. Thank you.
Hi, this is Joycelyn from Tanzania. I'm so glad to have learned about the cash voucher. And what you've seen very interesting, we are currently doing some nutrition projects, and we are seeing the limitation of applying some of the knowledge that we are trying to impart, especially in the livelihood. People are willing to keep small animals to improve their diversification and their nutrition status, but they don't have funds even to keep a small amount of chicken or rabbit. So I think blending the two will be maybe a good opportunity in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Apparently